All right. Welcome to Envision Your Year, Day 2. This is for 2025. And I'm going to first start out with sort of a recap of what happened last time. This group coaching and this group like short training is 2 days long. So the first day, we went over part of the workbook, the Envision Your Year workbook. And today we're going to do the rest of it. And I just wanted to first sort of give you a recap of what we did before. So you'll have this recording if you wish. And at the end, we will be able to chat a little bit. But at the beginning, what I would like to do is just walk through my training, which will probably take about 20 minutes. And then that will be sort of all of a piece. And then we will talk separately as we go through and more at the end. Okay, so I'm seeing some people coming in. Welcome. And it's really cool. I have to say, every time that I do one of these, I have people from sort of all over. So I know that today we have someone from Northern Quebec. We have someone from Seattle. And if you could put in the chat where you're from or hello from your area, and maybe just also say who you are, what you do, whether you're an artist or not, what type of artist you are, that is really helpful. And it is cool because sometimes then that helps people to connect, see other people's work, and just sort of feel this sense of not being so isolated. I know, especially over the holidays and just being artists, we tend to isolate, especially since COVID. So I want to really make this place, even though I'm going to be the only one talking for the first part, I want you to feel free to type things in the chat. Please tell us where you're from, what kind of art you do, or what kind of business you have, and where you are working, what kind of studio you have. Anything like that is really welcome. So feel free to use that chat. And I'm going to get started with a little recap of what we did last time. So I will be able to look down at the chat a little bit, but mostly I'm going to try to focus on my presentation and make sure that I can stay on track. But we have Judy from Matagami Bay, James, Quebec, Kevin from Seattle, a writer. I see Heather, who is a quilter and an artist from Lopez Island, Washington. And I see Virginie, and I know she's originally from France, but I'm actually not sure where Virginie is living right now. So if anyone wants to say where you're from, that is really fun. And thank you. So first, the recap. So last year, or last 2 weeks ago, we did Envision Your Year Day 1. And to sort of recap, first, I want to say what you'll need today. And what you'll need today is a journal and a pen, or you can look at or download the workbook, which is at shannonborg.com/envision. If you don't want to do that, if you don't have time today, you can just listen. You don't have to write anything down. You'll have this recording to go back to. Okay, so first, I'll recap. And last time, what I did say is sort of go over what this workbook is. This is sort of a way to look back at the past year and then move into the next year and think about where you were, how far you've come, and what you want to do next. So to do this for yourself, this recording is great and I'll lead you through it, but really this is your own personal process. So set aside some time, around the first of the year or anytime during the year, frankly, to think about it, get it out and write on it and do some of the exercises to help you think about the year and take your time with it. Okay, so the table of contents, again, from last time was a bit of thank you last year, thank you 2024. First, we went over a few sort of elements of gratitude, lessons learned, and letting go. And that is in the first recording, so you can go and look at that. Also, what were your smallest accomplishments from last year? And what were your biggest accomplishments from last year? And we really kind of gave some time to write those down. And then we started with this first section, which was about thinking about how we're thinking in our minds. And this is how I think of air. Earth, air, fire, water. Air is like the mind. Okay. So the mind and how we're thinking about our vision. And I use the tarot spreads as sort of some ideas about how to bring in some new ideas and new energy. And I'll do a little bit of that today before we move on. Then the second part is today we're going to mostly focus on the water, which to me means systems and how we sort of control the flow of everything, including money or including time, including all of our business operations. And that is how I think of decisions and making decisions as water and how we direct that flow. And then we're going to also talk about fire and the spark and the lighting the spark this year and what is going to sort of give you that energy and that new light to drive you in the year. And then also walking the path. So I'm thinking in terms of all of these elements. And it really gives me a sort of a simple way of keeping my life and my art essential. And I practice what you might call creative essentialism. So this is a new concept that I've been working with this year, essentialism. I've learned it from a few different coaches to sort of keep things very simple. But then I had my creative process, which I think of as creating an atmosphere, making decisions, and walking my path. And then I kind of combined them. And I now am thinking of it in terms of creative essentialism. So these are the things that we're also going to talk about today. So one thing I really want to start today out with is a big gratitude to the end of this year and thinking about where you were, how far you've come, and letting go of what last year was to us. Good, bad, indifferent, ugly, beautiful, all of that. Okay, so as we start into this new year, we're going to talk about first, I'm going to reiterate, create an atmosphere. So when you think of creative essentialism, that create an atmosphere is in your mind, what is going on in your mind and what is happening in your creative life and in your studio. So also in your work and your business. So as we go through this time of, this element, the mind, what we want to do is think of what is the atmosphere around us that as artists we are creating. Okay, so the first part of Envision Your Year today will be us doing a really simple tarot reading because in the workbook, I have it all set out as like a full year. Okay. And you can do it this way, where you just do it like a clock, where you take a tarot deck and you sort of you draw a card for each month, like a clock, and then put your one card in the middle. That's what I call the sun card. So you would have 13 cards. Or if you see in the workbook, you can also do it like this, where you have card 1, 2, 3 around quarter 1, card 4, 5, 6 around quarter 2, card 7, 8, 9 around quarter 3, and card 10, 11, 12 around quarter 4. So there's no right or wrong way to do this, but it's kind of fun to think of it in terms of a cycle. Or I also think of the hero's journey of the year and each quarter. So this is page 13 in the workbook. Now I'm just showing you a few of these before we do our card draw, okay? So I'm going to draw one card and just talk about it a little bit. But when you do the workbook, you can do these full spreads. We don't have time to do all of that here, but I want to show you how I would do one card. So I think of it in terms of my creative process, also in terms of the seasons, okay, spring, summer, winter, fall, or fall, winter. And there's lots of different ways you can think about it. But okay, so let's just think about it in terms of drawing sort of one card right now. And what I'm going to do is, I know that people have questions about what decks I use and all of that, but I can answer questions. You can email me with those kind of questions. But for me, let's see, I want to make sure you can see this. See the cards. Okay, yeah. And I'm going to just draw a card off my deck. Okay, so I'm drawing from this is my Mary L. Tarot. This is a really great and very intense deck, and every card is like a hand-painted painting by Marie White. So this card that I drew is called the Ace of Wands. And again, I think of the elements of earth, air, fire, water. Wands is fire. Wands is creativity. And ace is one. So ace is like the seed. So in this case, this card is the ace of wands or the seed of creativity. So when I think of the seed of creativity, I'm thinking about how am I thinking about my creativity and where I want to take it to the next level. So in this spread, I would put that right here in this January spot right here. Okay. And then I would pull number two, card number two, I would put it here. And that would be February. And then the third one would be March. Okay, so that is sort of how the tarot goes. So if you do have a deck with you, I would suggest right now, just I'm going to give you a minute, pull a card. If you don't have a deck, totally fine. And that this is when you would sort of write down that card. Okay. All right. So now when after you do your card spread, and in this case the first quarter, there are pages in the workbook after this where I have card number one, and that is January, and that is my seed for the year. I happen to get that ace of wands, and so I would write a little bit about the ace of wands. In this case, it's the seed of creativity, and what would be my creative seed this year. And I just speaking personally, I really think that for me, it's nature and history, family history. So those two things, nature and family history, I'm going to try to find ways to put together in my art this year. So that's what I mean as far as like finding the seed or finding the card's meaning in your creative life. Okay, for January. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is move into the second part of the workbook, and that's making decisions. So a couple of things I want you to think about in terms of last year and next year, making decisions about what I'm going to do next, what I should keep in my life, what I should let go. We use these questions for evaluating pretty much everything in coaching. So, what worked for you? What didn't work? And then I always add this one, what didn't work yet? So, sometimes what didn't work in your art or something is only a process that you're learning. And so it may work down the road, but you need to think about, okay, if it's not working yet, I'm going to learn this skill, or I'm going to add this or that to it and keep working on it until it does work. So I think that is really important as we approach this section of thinking about decisions. Okay, so the first question of this, and this is our first little writing exercise, is values. So I'm going to set my timer on Zoom here, and let's see. They have a really good little timer app, and I'm going to set that for 1 minute. And the values is short because I really think that most people know what their values are, and I just want you to list 3 values. So for 1 minute, list 3 to 5 of your values. And that could mean anything from honesty to freedom to family to creativity. Okay. So I'll give you a minute and go ahead and start. 3 to 5 values. Okay. As you might be able to see, I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to be doing some of these exercises in my on my workbook and you may be able to see that depending on how you have your setup. Okay, so great. All right, so our timer is done here. So I would love for you to put in the chat, what are some of your values that you wrote down? I think it would be really interesting to see what other people's values are. I'm not sure, they're not the same as mine. And that's the thing. That's why this is all really important to do for yourself, because you can't take someone else's values, right? You can't really believe that from what other people have. You have to decide what this is for yourself. So we have friends and family, honesty, integrity, and caring. Awesome. I wrote freedom, health, both mental and physical, and growth. For me, I need to be always growing. That is just like super important to me. Virginie says authenticity and kindness. Authenticity, that's so great, is just being able to be yourself and speak truth, your truth in the world. Beauty, loyalty, kindness, accountability. That's a great value, Heather. Accountability, to be able to, take responsibility for our own actions, and have that built into our value system. I think that's really important. Okay, great. So moving on. Now, this is the next thing that we're going to do, a little 2-minute exercise, which is your 3 pillars. So I have changed this over the years. At first, I thought the 3 pillars, I kind of have taken this from a couple of different coaches. People have had these pillars and the foundation of what you do. Well, I kind of created this triangle for myself where I separated my life into 3 areas that really helped me focus on them. And for me, it was artist, and they were kind of what I call myself, or my identity, the 3 pillars: artist, beachcomber, coach. So artist, beachcomber, coach. So that really, the artist helped me really know that I am accepting, and I am an artist. I am calling myself an artist. And then the beachcomber part really kept me focused on nature and making sure that I had nature in my life. And I love beaches. Also, beachcombing is all about looking and looking closely at the world. So for me, that made sense. And also having that freedom and that open time to be able to enjoy nature. And that could be, forest walking, not beachcombing. But for me, I'm a beachcomber. And then the third one for me was a coach. And this meant, for me, it was community. It's like all about how I can help people and how I can build a business that helps people and also connects these other things together. So I want you to think about this for 2 minutes. Okay. So of course, that's not long enough in our lives, but today, 2 minutes is a good amount of time for you to think about what your 3 pillars might be. Now, they don't have to be self-identifying labels like I did. They could be, kind of oh, I don't know, they could be more value related, or one could be business, one could be, creativity. And that's how they're different than values, right? Values is what you believe. Your pillars are sort of the 3 areas of your life or your identity that you build it on. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes here. Okay. I love that. It sounds like the Academy Awards. We're all getting Academy Awards as we do these little writing exercises. Okay. So if anyone would like to put in the chat what you decided your pillars would be, let's see, what do we have? Creativity, nature conservation, caring for people and animals. That's big. Thank you, Judy. That's a good one. Writer, listener, thinker. And yes, I know that about Kevin. Um, and it's really interesting to think about how granular we want to get about these things because someone from the outside might say, well, aren't those really all very close together as far as like parts of your life? But when you're inside it, they're all very different. Writing is about, you know, creating something sort of on the page and out there in the world. Listening is about taking things in, and thinking is about processing it. So I think that's a really good triangle, frankly. I think that's really fascinating. Okay. Okay, good. We have artist, person. That's so good, Heather. That makes so much sense knowing you. Um, Naturalist, learning from wanting to combine art and nature and have art be my platform to talk about nature. So good. Okay, these are all really great. Okay, so next, decisions. So, what are the decisions that you're going to make this year? Um, one decision I can give you an example. I have always wanted to be more of an abstract painter. And I've had this thought, which is I would call a limiting belief, that I can't paint realism, but I can't paint abstraction either. I joke about it with myself. So I want to learn abstraction and I want to learn realism, but I'm more interested in sort of abstract realism as I paint. So when I'm making this decision, and I made this for myself this year, I didn't complete it all the way, but I'm definitely down this road, which is I'm the one that's going to figure out what abstract realism means to me. Okay, so I've decided that I'm going to learn what abstract realism means to me in my art. And that meant that decision really released a lot of power into my world this year. I took a specific class on abstraction from an artist that I really love, and I learned so much. And the reason I did that is because I decided that I wanted to learn how to be an abstract painter. So I took this class. I also practiced some very basic abstract techniques over and over and over, and I put that work into it. And so all of that came from my decision that I'm going to be the one to figure this out. I can't just sit here and hope it's going to happen. Right. So I'm going to be the one that figures this out. And that belief, that thought is a much less limiting belief than I can't paint realism and I can't paint abstraction, even if it's a joke. Right. So what decisions are you going to make this year? So I'm going to give you 1 minute and you can just write down, what decisions they are. You don't have to tell me what they actually will be specifically, but you can just say, well, maybe in your financial life, I'm going to figure out this or that about my money, investment, my budget. I'm going to figure out whether I'm going to live in this place or move somewhere else. Okay, those kinds of things. Okay, so I will give you a minute. I'm going to give you a minute and a half on this one. Okay. Okay, great. So if anyone wants to share in this area using technology in art installations, oh yeah, that's a great one. That's a really good one. For me, let's see. There we go. Doing printmaking, creating abstract paintings. Awesome. Printmaking. To be more intentional, Virginie, that's wonderful. Yeah. Instead of sort of being like a ping pong ball and just kind of going from one thing to another, the decision to be intentional is a huge one. That's so great. Okay, good. So now what I'd like to do is jump into fire. If you have anything you want to type in the chat, feel free still, okay, on any of these things, and I will go back to it. And also we will chat a little bit at the end. So under fire. So this is where you sort of take your values and your decisions and you kind of prep your vision for next year. So we've done the work of last time of seeing where you came from in 2024 and really seeing some of that progress you made, then building on your vision, your values, what you want to do this year is coming up. Okay, so the idea of the sun card is kind of that guiding light. Okay. So if you but I don't want you to I don't want you to draw that now during this session until you've done all of the other ones, but I do just want to give you the idea that once you've done your tarot reading and you've done your values and you've kind of got to that point, then draw the sun card last. And the sun card is, it could be good, bad, or indifferent as far as, the tarot deck goes, but it gives you a sense of maybe some concept or some idea you want to use as a guiding light. I'm going to give you the worst case scenario. Okay. So for instance, you get the death card for the sun card. All right. For your 13th card for your sun card. What would that mean? Well, to me, the death card means is all about cycles. It's all about changing things, letting go, and starting something new. So if I got the death card for the sun card, I would think about my year in terms of what am I letting go? What am I starting? What am I letting go? What am I starting?
Okay.
Okay, there's someone that's not
I'll keep
muted,
you
so
posted.
I
You know
wonder
what?
if
You
you
should
could
go
mute,
into
please.
Bob's anyway. He says he
Um,
does walk-ins. Just go
Heather,
and see.
sorry. Oh, thank you. Let me see. I'm going to mute.
I love you.
I'm sorry. I can't find the mute. Um, okay.
I muted.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Um, all right. That's okay. Okay, so these things happen, right? It's Zoom. All right, so the Sun card is our vision, is sort of the thing that's gonna just keep us happening, keep us on track for next year, even if it's something like the Death card, right? That might be the best thing that I could pick for this Sun card idea. Okay, so now when you're thinking about your vision for next year, for a second, I just want you to dream about it. This is only a little class. It's only, we only have another half an hour. So for 1/2 hour of the whole year, what if you were going to do anything that you wanted to do and you knew you couldn't fail? What would that be? So I'm going to give you just 1 minute and don't think too much about it, but 1 minute to think about that and write down what your vision is, what you'd want to do if you could not fail. Okay. I have to get back to my app, but go ahead and I'm just going to create a timer. Um, there we go. 1 minute. Hi, Pam. We are in a little writing session, so please mute yourself and I'll bring you up to speed. Okay, wonderful. So if you could do anything you wanted this year and you knew you couldn't fail, what would it be? I'm going to share mine first, just because it feels scary for me to say this in front of other people, especially some of my clients, right? We have to be vulnerable around these things. And I wrote it here. I would serve 25 one-on-one clients while traveling. I just picture myself in Europe with my iPad and the Zoom goes out, or I can't find a place to sit down that's quiet, or I can't get the clients, or the clients don't like what I'm doing, or right, all of these fears come in. But if I had the vision of doing anything I wanted to, I would serve 25 people one-on-one, which means an hour, 50-minute sessions every other week for 6 months, which basically comes to 12 hours a week while I'm getting my MFA. And I would travel to, which I hope to do, Italy, Sweden, and Denmark this summer. That's my vision. So I'm putting that out to you and to the universe. We'll see next year if that happened and if that came to be, but that's what my vision is. So please, if anyone would like to share what your vision is, what you could do if you knew you couldn't fail, what would it be next year? Okay, write a book. Oh, whatever that might mean. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Go back to school. Wow, that's huge. I want to talk to you, Virginie, because that's what I did. So setting that intention, I set that intention at the beginning of the year, even 2 years before I actually did it. And here I am back to school. So sometimes it takes a while, but it happens. My vision is to express myself about pollution and climate in an interactive exhibition. Wow. I've already, seen some of that, Judith. That's amazing. Launched 10 ideation strategy stations for 10 organizations, Pam. Pam works with corporations and government agencies and nonprofits and organizations to bring nature and creativity to their decision making and to their leadership. So that's incredible. Okay, all of these things are so cool. I feel really honored to be around people, by the way, where you guys are doing such amazing work in the world, whether it's just writing a book or just writing a book. Oh my God, did I just say that? It's the hardest thing in the world. I've done it a couple of times. And Heather wants to experiment with materials and techniques that represent my feelings and attitudes about nature and human interactions to create work that stands out from the crowd. Wow, so well put, so beautiful. Okay, so next, in our vision part. Okay, a couple of questions, and these aren't in your workbook, but I came across this from one of my coaches, and they were really helpful. So if you're thinking about business and finance, these are just some questions that in the recording, I think that will be helpful to you, okay? So you can take a screenshot or you can watch this again. And we're at about minute 130, about 38. So these questions will come up in your recording if you want to go back to it. So one, write down now, what do you think your goal for finance is? It really, even if you don't think about this kind of stuff, how much money do you want to make next year? Two, what has been your biggest source of income, your sort of winning strategy that's worked? And three, what is your biggest income with the most love and the least work? Okay. Then, what made you the least amount of money last year, but you did anyway? Now, are you going to keep that thing or are you going to let it go? What brought you the least amount of money, but it was worth it because it brought other things in? So for instance, an art studio tour. I may not make a lot of money on the tour, but I may get a lot of clients. Or for me, webinars like this. I don't get paid in this specific scenario, but I may get clients. And it also helps to add to my bank and my value bank of what I'm offering the world and how I can help clients and potential clients. So I'm not going to stop doing that, even though I don't make specific money from today's free webinar. It's really important for me to do it. Okay. And then resources. And this is sort of thinking in terms of a lack mindset, right? But we do this. Where did I not have enough last year? Not enough people to help me, or not enough time, not enough money, not enough things. So maybe I need a new easel, or maybe I need a decent paintbrush that's bigger, right? Things like that. Where did I not have enough knowledge last year? I took that abstract class. And that felt like I really needed that knowledge. I took the class and now I feel so much better. Now, we don't want to just keep taking class after class after class. At some point, we have to sort of trust ourselves. But sometimes you really do need a specific set of knowledge and skills and support. Now, where did I not have enough support? And also think about in terms, how can you change this, right? I have a coach and I'm part of a coaching program. Did I feel supported even though I had that? I want to be accountable to digging into that, asking questions, taking the support that's offered to me, right? So that's another part of where did I not have enough and what can I do to take advantage of what I already have and what I have been given. So from a sort of a lack mindset, but also from an abundance mindset of how can I better use what I have? How can I practice that creative essentialism and be very simple about what I need and how I use it to the fullest extent? And then the last one, who will I have to become to get there? Okay, so for instance, in my question of realism and abstraction, I want to paint more abstract art. I will have to be the person who practices, who learns this technique, who is open to learning more different techniques. I'm just going to use my health as an example. I have a history of diabetes in my family, and I really needed to become the person for my health that had a handle on my sugar intake and my weight and my exercise. So last year I set out to do that, and I changed my eating completely. And it was really a very interesting process. I can talk to other people about this if you want, but it was mostly just eating a little bit less, eating on a schedule, and exercising, taking a walk every day. And I've lost 15 pounds and I feel so much better. So that's the person I had to become, to make those decisions to get to that goal of better health. Okay. And then what is that first step I can take? And then what is the thought I can practice to guide this process? So for me, in that health area, it was baby steps, making right choices. I can make better choices in my food. Being hungry is not terrible. I can be hungry for 2 hours before I eat at my assigned time. I can eat what I've assigned myself. And then if I'm still hungry later, I'll eat a little more, right? So these thoughts have really helped in my art and my business and my creative process. And they're so simple, but you being present in that moment to know that that mindset and that little first step is really going to take you to the second step and so on. Okay, so now I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write down your values, your pillars, and your vision on, you have that. I'm sorry. I'm not going to give you 2 minutes now because this sheet is in your workbook. And also, you've written these 3 things in your notes today. But what I suggest is that you write them out on either this piece of paper or your workbook and you post it. And this is something that you can have on your wall. Now, I have tons of stuff on my wall. I have my calendar. I have, my values and all sorts of different things. I like having that visual, really neat, essential values, pillars, vision on my wall to look at every day. So, okay, so I suggest you do that. Now, we're in this last section before we have a little discussion about in the workbook. So what I suggest is once you have created your values, your vision, your pillars, to create no more than 3 or 4 goals for you this year. And this is, again, a part of this creative essentialism. You can sometimes, oh my gosh, I'm a Capricorn. I was the person who created 10 goals in 10 areas. I mean, ever since I was a little kid. And my birthday's New Year's Eve. So I'm always like, thinking about that. And of course, I'm in this business of helping people set goals and all of that. That's just who I am. But as the years have gone by, I realized that it was much better if I kept my goals really essential. So what I do now is I set 4 goals for myself, 1 in each area, 1 for each hat. If you know the 4 hats training that I have for my clients. And it's also the free course on my homepage. So you can go look at that. The leader hat, the creator hat, the operator hat, and that's like all your finances and systems and things. And then your promoter hat, which is how you engage in your relationships and how you go out into the world. So I would just set 1 goal for each area, or 3 goals is fine too. And I'm going to give you 2 minutes right now to sort of sketch out some of those goals. Okay. And think about them in terms of your vision and of your values as well. Okay, great. Okay, anyone want to share any of their goals? I know sometimes these can be very personal. I wrote mine down, if you can see on my iPhone. But okay, goals. One, discipline, organization and planning, creative practice, and furthering my productivity. Great. Those are awesome, Judy. That's so good. Now, one thing I want you to think about in terms of your goals is, if you've probably heard of this concept, the smarter goal, right? A smarter goal, and I don't know all of the acronym totally, or a SMART goal, but the idea is that a goal should be measurable. Okay. So measurable, and it should have an end date. You should know when you accomplish it. Okay, so that's one thing I want you to take from this goal sheet. You should know when you accomplish it. There is a end to it. So, yes, that can be lose 15 pounds. Create, for me, it was create an MFA installation. I will have an MFA installation next May, a year from May, but I know when that's going to be done. Um, Simplify my systems. I will know when my finances are going from point 1 to 2 to 3. I will be able to plug money into it and see where it goes and understand how it works. Okay, I may continue to improve it, but there is a specific goal, a specific end date to that. Okay, so when you think of goals like discipline, we want to be more disciplined. That's a great goal, Judy. And I would just encourage you to make that really specific. In what area of your life? Maybe the discipline might be, I'm going to, work for 2 hours every day in my studio. Now that might be something that you fail at immediately, or I fail at immediately. So it might be, what I like to call it is crop rotation. I have like 3 areas that I work in. So say I want to be more disciplined in my studio. I want to work 6 hours a week in the studio. Well, I can go 2 hours one day, 2 hours another day, and 3 hours another day. So I'm not putting that pressure of a stop and a start and a timer on myself, but overall, I just have this goal of more time in the studio. I'm going to try to have 8 hours in the studio a week. Okay, so you see how that's more specific. And so I do suggest that you create that goals to be more specific. No problem. Okay, experiment, research techniques, share work off island. When you're on an island, that is an issue, and enjoy the process. So these are all so great. And again, just really focus on a few goals at a time. When one is done, then you can check it off with a big Sharpie, which I love, and then put another goal in its place. Okay, so it doesn't mean you're only going to do 3 things this year. It just means that you're going to focus on those 3 things, or 4 things for the 4 hats, until they're done, until one's done, and then fill it in with another goal. That way you can know when you're done, you can know specifically what you're going to do, and you can make the steps to actually get there. Okay, so now the last part of the workbook that I want to go over today, before we talk for just a minute, is the word of the year. Okay, so now in the last session on day 1, we went over a little bit of this idea of the word of the year. What we did was we brainstormed some ideas, and I showed you my word of the year for last year. So in your workbook, you're going to have that gem, and it has all the different facets. And as you brainstorm, you can use this page to sort of write ideas and different possibilities. And then when you're done, kind of, okay, what word am I going to actually choose for next year? I don't expect you in this workshop today to actually choose the word. Some people may already have that chosen. But I love having a word for the year. I've had one every year for the past 8 years. And I have to tell you, it's been the most incredible thing. I have to share one funny story. For the year 2020, in January, I chose the word patience. And that was COVID. So be careful what you choose. It has worked with that way for me every single time. I chose patience because I felt like in my art, in my business, in my money, in my house, I was always impatient. I was always just like irritated or frustrated, or things weren't going fast enough, and I realized it was all about me. So I had to sit and do a lot of work around patience. around slowing down, around surrender, and just sort of like letting the world go on, things I couldn't control, while I was quietly creating the life I wanted to in my mind. Because, of course, I was not having the life I wanted to in my mind when I was so impatient and frustrated. I couldn't control anything out there, but I also couldn't control anything in here. And that was the beginning of my coaching journey, really. I learned how to coach myself. I started listening to the Life Coach School podcast, which is fabulous. And I would suggest starting from episode 1. I got certified as a life coach, and COVID happened. So I had to practice patience in so many ways. And I still think of that year as being transitional in my life. So be careful what you choose, because you may be tested in ways you never thought possible. Okay, so my word of the year last year was listen. This has always been an issue for me. I'm a talker. I'm a projector in human design. If anybody knows human design, it's the idea of the projector is you focus on kind of one person at a time. And that I didn't know this before. I was already a coach when I found out about human design, but apparently projectors are the guides to the world, and to generators, which are like people who just make a lot of things and have a lot of energy. I don't. I don't have a lot of energy. I need to rest a lot. Not that everybody doesn't. But this word really helped me because I felt like I was trying to force myself on people by talking too much, which is, of course, what I'm doing right now. But this is in a constrained forum, right? And when after that, I would talk and present what I wanted to, I thought they needed to learn. And it was crickets, right? People didn't respond to me. And this has sort of been an issue. And maybe you've experienced this too, when you're putting things out there and you just don't feel like there's a response or people are getting it or getting what you're doing. So last year was listen for me. Listen was so essential. And every time I reminded myself, I'm going to listen to what that voice is saying, do this instead of that. I did it. I'd say 60% of the time. And it was amazed like by the results of when I really listened to myself, even if it was only that much. Okay, so this is how I did it last year. I looked up all the etymologies of the word, to be called. Listen came from Helisan or Halosan from the old German. And it meant splendor, glory, light, to hear of or report, Old Norse, to be called. And so I thought, wow, the idea of listening to the calling, listening to be called. What am I being called to? So all of this research really helped me kind of understand what the word listen meant for me. And I hope this really helps you because it was very eye-opening for me. Okay, so now I would love to open us up to questions and thoughts and just a discussion. Please, you can unmute yourself and then just raise your hand like this so I can see your hands, and I will call on you. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you don't want to be on screen, feel free to turn your video off. You can still talk. It's just up to you. I'm going to put a gallery view now on. But it's fine. We don't have to see you in order for you to be on the gallery. So, or on, to be able to talk. So hold on. Let me just fix this. Okay. I'm not sure that that's gonna work either, but that's okay. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. All right. So let's talk. Thank you for engaging in the chat. There was some really, really great, wonderful, interesting things that people were talking about. And I would love for you and anyone to raise your hand to just share anything that you have learned or that that came up for you, what came up for you, any resistance or ideas or whatever. So let me know. Kevin?
Yeah, I was just thinking how it's easy to say that you can sit down and plan and all of this is self-evident, but I just find it very useful to be sort of taken by the hand and walked through it in this way that I just find it very helpful. The questions seem I should say the questions that we can all realize that we should ask ourselves when we're, for instance, planning the next year. But again, to have them organized so well and in order and make so much sense together, I just found it very helpful just to write these things down as you ask these questions. And I'll go back to my notes. So thank you for all of that. And just one more thing before I shut up is that I retired this year, like in the last month, and so my view of this and the way I will use it, I think, might be a little different from the other people here in that I'm not just planning my year, but I'm planning my days in a different way than I ever have before. So, what did I write down here? I think this is pretty
Yeah,
good. It
I'd love to
was
hear about that, Kevin, because you are where we all want to be, right?
right.
Like just
So I wrote
luxurious
it.
amounts of time ahead of us. So go
I
ahead.
have found it. It's only been a month, but I have found it. I was afraid it would be kind of challenging, but I wasn't sure. But it's been every bit as challenging as I feared because I don't have an automatic schedule. I don't have a place I need to be, and I'm not. Yeah, self-discipline has never been my strong suit, and that's just being completely exposed now. So what I wrote here is like this is envision my year. Your year is what we're calling this, but I just wrote envision my day. That's that's what I'm doing. And so I can see that by envisioning, it will help me. I hope envision my day and to really create daily habits and daily structure based on what I expect as you've helped me ask these questions. What do I want to do? What are the basic principles of what I want to be? How I want to be, what I need to be, who I need to be in order to do what I want to do this year. And then I feel that I can that will help me extrapolate backward from that into basically, what I do by the day, by the week, by the month, by the quarter.
That's really good. And of course, you and I talk about this a lot. I'm probably going to fail 50% of the time at least. That's fine. That's totally fine. You know, but over time, those little steps that you take, and oh, today was a 50% great day. And then I just like watch Netflix for 7 hours. I don't know, like whatever it is for us, whatever it is. But every day setting that schedule and, and then doing what we hope that we can and just moving baby steps sort of through that. And then, of course, not beating yourself up when you have a day that, you know, is a toss away day. Because when you look at 7 days or when you look at a month, it's like my favorite mantra. Life can feel like failure the whole time until you stop and look back and see how far you've come. So that idea of realizing that, just get back on the horse, get back on the schedule, and it's all gonna like add up to a year. So thank you, Kevin. And I know that this is also what I want to reiterate. We are so much better at this than we think we are. Okay. We always sort of in our mind, it's like, oh, I'm not doing well. I can't keep a schedule. I can't do this. I can't get to my goals. That's just our mind, of course. And I wish that we could all chime in and say this together. Our brain just wanting to keep us safe and not doing anything, right? The motivational triangle: seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy. So when your brain tells you you're not good at scheduling, just give up. You're not good at making art, just give up. You're not good at business, just give up. It's just your brain wanting to rest and keep things in the status quo. So we just have to like remember and, say, okay, thank you, but I'm still going to do this goal. I'm still going to do this thing that I want to. And that's why we need the fire, right? And the schedule to kind of at least try to keep us just moving forward. Okay, anyone else? Thanks, Kevin.
Very good.
Pam, I'd love to hear from you if you're still there.
Thank you. I was actually just going to raise my hand. Thank you. I just couldn't find it on my tabs today. I was up late brainstorming and was listening to several other processes. So, and then I reviewed my Envision Your Year from when we did it years ago and did the whole look how far I've come and celebrate it. Because I think the first thing for me is I need to celebrate what I did accomplish before I go into the whole, because my brain will go, oh, like the never enough syndrome thing that I think many people can identify with. And so the word though I did choose is trust.
Tell us about that.
And it's interesting as I'm already looking up some of the definitions of it. And it's really strange because, family stuff, I am a trustee of a family situation. And, I work through that because it's family stuff, money and all that. So that can cause stuff in me, like the scarcity, worry. And then so that I'm shifting this word now for this year to trust in myself
Mm.
and trusting the process. Because I, like you, Shannon, will the hurry thing and just get it done. And, you know, which sometimes B minus work is fabulous. Like we talk about that, like just get things because we do want to just take action. And I need to do that because I'll do the 7-hour Netflix binge myself. TikTok binges has been my latest, and that's been, oh my gosh. I do learn a lot there from watching people though, and practicing being on camera, which is really great. But the trust word, and I'm looking this up now more and more, and it's really interesting because I just took all the definitions when it says allow someone to have, use, or look after something of value or importance with confidence. So the word confidence comes in, which is
Mhm.
something, trusting the process, the confidence in the artistic process. So even when I go to a painting, and that's like where I'm doing this with the ideation stations organizations, because I noticed this, especially during graduate school in learning public administration and how they operate, going, they're missing art and nature. Like that's so I wrote a book about that. But now it's a matter of trusting myself in it. So when I read it, I'm like, oh, allow someone to have, use, or look after, like allow myself to, like allow and put the trust in myself that I can be that guide, that I can be that person that goes to these organizations and then even showing up for my own art, be my own organization. And that's something of value to me. And I just really am appreciative of the word of the year today because I really need it. And I love the gem. Um, they've always helped me, like because you had that, but the Envision Your Year, just looking at it when I do it every year now, it's just, it's very powerful because of forcing me to go into the details. The specifics are important
Yeah,
because for years I made the broad goal and then I could never get there. And and then the actions, but actual specifics, even down to numbers, is really important.
it's helpful. Yeah.
It is
And
so
you
helpful.
can do, thanks so much, Pam. I really appreciate that. And you saying about like looking back and seeing what you've done last year and even in the past years. I mean, it really helps to do that. I find that so insightful. I appreciate that very much. Um, thanks. So, well, I said that these would be about an hour, a little bit more. So I don't want to sort of go on too long, but I do want to ask if anyone else wants to share your word of the year or another comment or another insight before we finish up. I love trust, by the way. That's a good one. Yes, Heather, can you unmute yourself or do I need to do that? Okay.
Nope, I got it. I think I decided after our last call, a gal who is not here today said the word resilience, and that really
Mm,
hit a spark for me.
mm,
And I am kind of teasing out what does it mean to me as an artist, but also just as a person, and in my family and in my community and in the greater community, as a person on this planet. And I think that kind of coinciding with my own little evolutionary process that's been going on for a couple of months, and this little workshop that we've been doing 2 weeks ago and then today, I'm really starting to sink into the idea that our ability to slow down and be in the process is really a lot more important than the hurry up and just have an outcome moment.
yeah.
And that requires that we be willing to take chances, we be willing to not get it perfect the first time. Like we have to have some grace with ourselves
Yeah.
around what's going on. And I think it's important that we have goals, that we make decisions, but I think it's also really important that we believe we can accomplish those goals and that those decisions are good decisions. So I think this is really great timing, and I really appreciate your mentorship. And
Oh,
when you were talking earlier about like, I'm just talking, 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 I'm like, I know, but that's why we're here is to listen to you talking because you're mentoring us and encouraging us in our process. And we all need that kind of support. So this has been really helpful. These two sessions have been really helpful. And also the timing has been really good for me personally, as well as just, in the calendar year. So thank you very much. I hope everybody has a good new year.
Yeah, thank you so much, Heather. I appreciate it. And I just quickly looked up the etymology of the word resilience. It says to rebound or recoil, but the Latin, what I love to look up is the Latin basis of it. And the Latin verb resilire, which means to jump, salire, to jump or leap, just like you said. So resilience is about being able to take that jump, that leap, and then leap back, about that sort of, what do you call it? Nimbleness of being able to jump around. And that's fun too. So this is what I mean about like expanding that word. And I wanted to just quickly look up, and Pam, you probably already did this, but I'm going to look up trust etymology. Thank you, Heather. I just love having you here. Your wisdom is always so, just makes me feel good to have you and your beautiful words with me when I'm here. I feel supported. Okay, so trust comes from Latin and the Old Norse, confidence, right? Courage, pledge, guarantee. The Latin word fide, confident, fidelity, etc. So that's really the fun part of kind of looking at these words. Okay, anyone else? Thank you everyone for being here. I really appreciate it. If you didn't give it a chance to say anything, you can always email me and just tell me what your word of the year is, or post it in Art Business Circle, which is our community for my clients. It's really fun to be in there and just like, I'm going to ask everyone to post their words in Art Business Circle. One other thing, January 6th through 10th this year, I am doing a 5-day training. Now, this will be it's called Reinvent. It's the Creative Transformation Challenge. And I'm bringing together several different ideas that I've been working on, consolidating them together to talk about how to kind of reinvent yourself when you're feeling like you need, to make a new leap, a new jump. Okay. And it comes from a couple of different things. One is from this amazing book I read called The Last Word on Power, which is a really incredible book. It's for executives in corporations, but it really is great. The concepts are great for artists as well, and for creatives, and for anybody in business, about how to look at your past, what you've been able to do up to this point, and really think about your capacity and growing your capacity to do totally new things. Okay, so that's what it's about. And that's why it takes 5 days. You'll get replays. So you may not be able to, believe me, it's going to be a haul that 5 days, but I am really committed to doing it and then making a class out of it. And because it's going to go deep and it's going to be really fun and really good. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here. And I wish you all a happy new year and happy holidays. And I just greet you in the new year with such gratitude and for being here and supporting me. And I hope I can support you this year as well. Thanks.
Thanks so
Bye.
much. Happy New
Bye,
Year.
everybody. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks. Thanks, Virginie. Thanks, Pam, Judy,
Bye.
Heather, Kevin. Bye.
Bye.
Virginie, if you want to stay on a second, I want to hear you say hello, okay? I'll cut it off on the recording, but I haven't talked to you for so long. Okay, I will talk to you later. Bye.